Hello and welcome to Talking Tech. This is episode 5. I don't actually know the name of this one, so we'll put it in somewhere like here. I am Dom. This week we have Mark and Craig. Craig is back, but again that was my headphones. I am taking the reins once again because apparently I did such a good job last week. So say hello, guys.
Hi guys.
Hello,
New song,
everybody.
Yeah.
And just a slight excerpt. It's called The Three Amigos tonight.
Well, there you go. Episode 5, The Three Amigos. So we've actually, this week was kind of a slow week. There was some actually kind of interesting stuff as we've got here. So I think we should just jump straight in. How do you guys feel about that?
Shoot.
Yeah, fine.
So that was my computer. The first one we've got is Blue Origin, which is the space company founded / run by Jeff Bezos of founded by Jeff Bezos of Amazon. There we go, got there eventually. They did something quite amazing this week. They landed a rocket, and it could essentially, if it was refueled, it could have essentially flew the same day. There was no damage to it. It was great. This has been heralded as like, oh look, SpaceX and Elon Musk have been trying to do this like all year, and they've been getting it wrong. This is slightly different. To put it into layman's terms, Falcon 9, which is SpaceX, is trying to go orbital. They're trying to leave our atmosphere, and the Shepherd, which is Blue Origin, is trying to stay suborbital. So they don't have to go quite as high, quite as fast, which makes their landing a bit easier. It's still really hard. I'm giving props, because Blue Origin did something pretty amazing with the Shepherd rocket, but it's not something that hasn't quite been done before. SpaceX did something with Grasshopper a couple of years ago, which is essentially the same thing. But nevertheless, they landed the rocket vertically, and it was cool to watch. I mean, I'm a bit of a space nerd, as you can probably tell, but what do you guys think?
After you, Mark.
Yeah, I kind of can't really get that excited because it didn't get screwed up once. I mean, that's essentially what's happened. They've managed to one time land it vertically, which is what it's designed to do. So, yeah, let me know once you've done it 100 times and you're willing to do it on a daily commercial basis. Then I'll be really excited. At the moment, this is in terms of flight, this is the Wright brothers doing a 100-meter skip. This is not Concorde.
I get that. Yeah, that makes sense. Craig, how about you?
I'm probably somewhere in between you, so I didn't know too much about this. I knew that these things were going on, but I hadn't really been following it too much. I was following Musk's progress a little bit more.
As was I.
I've got to say, it's impressive. I don't know how difficult these things are. They must be incredibly difficult, which is why it hasn't been done. Because guess what? We can fly and land now, and what we're talking about here is suborbital in this case, but obviously the plan is to break the atmosphere and go out into space and then return safely and continue to do that. So it must be incredibly difficult. However, I see a plane taking off, flying, and then landing, and think, just going a bit higher. So obviously it's not quite that simple. But
not quite that simple, no.
No.
There's quite a bit. So it takes a lot to break the sound barrier. As we know, Concorde was like the plane that did it, and it was amazing, and it had a lot of issues. These are going a lot faster, and they're trying to go straight up. So, like most people, I've been following SpaceX a lot more because they are very much in the public eye. When the rocket blew up a couple months ago, everyone kind of like went straight on them for it, saying like, "Yo, you did it! It didn't blow up last time. What happened this time?" But I don't think either of these are meant to be commercial. SpaceX is doing it so when they send stuff to the ISS, the bit that comes down to Earth is where all the fuel tanks and everything are, so they don't have to like rebuild it every time. So that's a hell of a lot of cost saving. And I believe Blue Origin is doing a similar thing to Virgin Galactic, where you just break out a little bit, so there's weightlessness for like 5 minutes, and then it comes safely back down.
So I think there's two things here, isn't there? There's two potential use cases going on. So there's the one where we're talking about commercial flights, not commercial flights into space, commercial flights breaking like the troposphere or whatever to get a little bit of weightlessness and make everybody who's paid 300 grand per seat happy. And then there's the other one where we're trying to decrease the cost of space flight to make manned space exploration a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about manned Mars trips in the next 10, 20, 30 years perhaps, but we're talking about decreasing the cost to make it more frequent, so we can probably start to learn a little bit more about what works and what doesn't work when we're out there.
Yeah.
That seems to be the case. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that you seem to have pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Space is very expensive and it's very difficult. So kind of any of these like little breakthroughs is kind of pretty amazing. I can't remember who it was that said this, but it was to do with America actually going to the moon. And it's like, why haven't they gone back there? And it's like, the only reason we went to the moon is because we were scared Russia was going to do it. Like we haven't got that type of impetus to like go back to the moon or go to Mars or do anything like that. So that and that was the government with a lot more money. So this is like private companies just doing cool shit. To be honest, like space is just one of those like infinitely cool things to me. So
sorry, Dom. I was just going to say it's one of those things, and maybe Mark and you have got an opinion on this, but it's probably one of the last. I'm not going to say the final frontier, but what I was going to say was it's probably one of those projects that we do because we can, not because we need to. Still, I mean, there's not necessarily any real humanitarian or any benefit at the moment from doing it, is there? I mean, we're doing it because we're pushing the scientific barrier and we're trying to push the limits of what we as mankind can actually deliver.
Apart from knowledge, sorry, Mark, carry on.
Well, I was going to say, actually, I think you're kind of wrong on that.
Okay.
Once space travel becomes cheap enough, you start to open up the possibilities of doing various sorts of things, such as we could, in theory, move food production off planet. We could move power production off planet. We could use space for geoengineering. If climate change is going to be a problem, stick a giant shade in space, knock 10 degrees off the temperatures of the Sahara and various deserts around the world. These are all things you could do. If, say, you're little Iceland, where you get 2 months of just pitch blackness every year, throw a giant mirror into space, boom, you can make it daylight whenever you like.
This, Mark, is...
I mean, these are things you can
point.
do when space becomes cheap.
Yeah.
We don't do any of these things, and we don't think about doing these things right now because, I mean, I think the number's a bit old, but it used to be the cost of putting anything into space per weight is roughly that same weight in gold. It's expensive as crap, and that's why we don't do it.
I mean, so apart from like knowledge, like we do things in space, like the ESA, the European Space Agency, landed the Rosetta lander on a comet earlier this year. Like that wasn't done for monetary reasons. It wasn't done for anything other than it was an exploratory mission. We needed to find out more stuff about like an actual comet in space. Like that's just. Sorry, Mark, what was that?
Well, yeah, we didn't do that for any kind of direct monetary gain. But again, if you take any kind of exploration that's taken place in previous centuries, where you start off with your adventurers and explorers, and then you follow it up with other people and miners. You look at particularly the population westward drift in North America. That was largely off the back of resources and minerals. comets, asteroids, they potentially contain vast mineral wealth that we want.
Oh, most certainly, and it's the fact that this first mission is what I'm getting at. Is eventually it will probably lead to mining missions on these things. So when we run out of the rare earth minerals, because they're called rare earth minerals for a reason, when we eventually run out of these, probably relatively soon, we have some sort of backup.
Not so much the run out, it becomes more about cost. It's the same.
Yeah, I mean, when I say run out, I mean become commercially unavailable for most.
Yeah. I mean, it becomes a cost thing. It's the same reason why we don't dig coal out of the ground in the UK anymore. We have giant open cast mines in Australia.
Yeah, it's cheaper to do that. Yeah. Let's move on before we end up spending like the last week nearly like half an hour on one topic. So Xiaomi this week had something that's leaked out for a little while. They announced it. There is the Redmi Note 3, which is like only 3 or 4 months after the Redmi Note 2 came out, and the Mi Pad 2. Of these two, probably the Mi Pad 2 is more interesting to me, but I'm very interested in both. So basically, Craig, do you know much about either of these?
I know they exist now. I was waiting for the Mi Pad 2 to come out because I've got it somewhere right over there. It's that box there.
I mean, I can do a quick spec rundown if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
So the Note 3 has a 5.5-inch 1080p IPS display, an octa-core Helio X10 processor from MediaTek, like a 4,000 mAh battery, fingerprint scanner on the back, 13 megapixel camera. The whole kit bang caboodle. It's actually pretty amazing, and it's all metal, apart from like the radios and stuff. That is around, and 2 gigs of RAM, but there's also 3 gig of RAM model, and that comes to about the equivalent of $140, so probably about 90 odd quid.
Which is, just to jump in straight away, is brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there's probably some corners cut. Has it got NFC?
More than likely not. I don't think so.
Don't think it's got NFC, and I don't think it's got micro SD slot either. Yeah, I know it's dual SIM, and normally you can change one of them, but I don't think you can in this instance. But £90.
Yeah. And I think, I could be wrong, it doesn't have quick charging, which again is another cost-saving measure. I don't know. Having a quick look. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be NFC, but there is H211 AC, so that's good. Bluetooth 4.1. There is an FM radio, micro USB. So yeah, probably the most interesting bit is the fact that battery is so damn huge.
Yep.
4,000 milliamp-hours again, and it's a slender device. I think it's like 8 millimeters. So that's the Redmi Note 3. Mark, do you have anything to say about that, or?
Probably just what everyone else is going to. For the money, wow, amazing, awesome. Xiaomi, hurry up and start selling the bloody thing in the West, you sons of bitches. We want your stuff. We want it, right? And anything that it's going to be missing, okay, it doesn't have NFC. Well, it's so cheap. It's so cheap. Yeah, I don't. I'm willing to forgive and overlook any little issues like that. And nice to see the batteries getting bigger.
Yeah, I mean that. I had the Wiley Fox Swift in for review a few months ago, and again, that didn't have NFC, and that was £130. And I was like, at this price point, there are so few things that I can complain about without being whiny or being unreasonable. This is even lower than that, and it's better in pretty much every way.
So in fairness, when you say this is cheaper, by the time you would add on 20% for VAT, if it was to be sold in the UK, it's not going to be that much cheaper.
Well, even if it was the exact same price, you'd still be getting an exponentially better device. So I want it. I'll see if I can get one in for review. I doubt it because Xiaomi's PR is pretty much
Non-existent.
non-existent in the UK. So I might have to actually spend some of my hard-earned cash on getting one of those and then trying to flip it. Huh?
Learn Chinese.
Yeah, learn Chinese. Um,
I think
So-
the Mi Pad 2 for me, Dom, is the one that's more exciting.
Yeah, so like the Nokia N1 from earlier this year / late last year, this is essentially an iPad mini running Android. But there is also a difference. This can also run Windows 10. Not Windows 10 Mobile, just Windows 10. Now this is actually really quite interesting. It's the same 7.9-inch 2048 by 1536 IPS display as the original Mi Pad. It swaps out the Tegra K1 for the Atom X5. I think it's like the Z5800 or Z5800, whatever. There's a lot of product names. I'm really tired.
8500 it says.
Is it the 8500? Thank you.
It's an Intel chip.
Yeah, it's an Intel chip, 14 nanometers. So it's the newest generation of Atoms. Like 2 or 3 gigs of RAM.
2 gigs.
2 gigs of RAM, and it's got a USB-C port. Now this is actually super interesting because tablets, aside from phones, are probably the thing I want USB-C in most.
Yeah.
Because although the space is there for more ports, no one is putting more ports in a tablet. I'd rather have, if I have to have one port, make it a super useful port. Like USB-C, that's data, that's video, that's power, that's audio, that's everything. Like, give it the right alternate modes, this thing could be the charger, the display out, the data transfer. It could be everything. Like,
And look at that battery. I mean, it's the best part of 6,200 milliamp hours. So that for a tablet may not seem astronomical, but when you look at the fact that, you know, it's a QHD display.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, QHD display.
Pretty much
8 inches. So, okay, it is much bigger than a smartphone, but it's not. It's pushing 324 ppi, so it's not pushing that many more pixels overall. And to have a 6,200 milliamp hour battery, I don't think that's going to be too bad at all. In fact, I think it's going to be brilliant. May not be brilliant on the Windows 10 side of things with an Atom chip.
It depends. Like the newest, or not the newest anymore, but the mini Surface, the Surface 3, the non-Pro Surface has the Atom X7, and I played with one of those recently. It's not slow, and it's definitely not the fastest thing in the world, but it's definitely serviceable. Especially, again, you've got to consider in the price for these things. This is going to be a lot cheaper than the Surface, because the Surface doesn't come with a pen or a keyboard. It might come with a pen now, but it doesn't come with a keyboard, and this won't come with a keyboard either. So when you compare them just as tablets, I'd probably end up picking this.
Yeah, for the weight and the speltness of it. Speltness?
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
whether
like
that's a
7 millimeters and 320 odd grams. So again, the interesting thing is this runs either Android in the form of MIUI 7, which I believe is Android 5.1.1 or whatever, and then also Windows 10, so full-fledged Windows 10. And again, with that USB-C port, you could plug this into it's a standard USB-C hub. You could charge it, attach an external monitor, keyboard and mouse, memory card reader, and it wouldn't be the snappiest thing in the world, but like you could take this to a trade show and edit. You could take this into a trade show and edit your videos quickly. Like if you just need a quick. It's interesting to me what it could be rather than what it is now.
Yeah. All I was going to jump in and say, Dom, is that the interesting thing for me is that we've got a tablet now. Okay, we've had the Lynx tablets and we've had numerous little Dell tablets and bits and pieces like that that have been Windows 10. But they've been underpowered, frankly. And this looks like it could be a decent mobile Windows 10 offering at a decent size with USB-C. And also, if you go to a trade show and you're connected up to an external monitor and you've got a keyboard and a mouse, it's kind of doing what, I know it's a subject we'll speak about soon, but it's kind of doing what Microsoft want you to do with the Lumia devices and the Continuum side of things.
Well, it is still Continuum, but it is still Continuum. It's actually the same feature is enabled on every Windows 10 device. if I'm running Windows 10 on this computer here, I can open up the notification center, and in the bottom I can put it into tablet mode, which is just continuum.
Yes.
And it is super interesting.
And it's going to do it better than the Lumia devices. Let's be honest.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It's going to have a lot more. It's going to have a lot higher thermal headroom. It's going to have a much bigger battery, even though if you're using it in the Lumia dock, it will charge it as well. It's going to and it's again a much higher, a much more powerful chip than the Snapdragon 808 and the 810 in the newest Lumias. Sorry, Mark, what was that?
I think kind of what's going to be crucial about this and the differentiator over the Lumias is this is real Windows. This is not Windows Phone or Windows Mobile or whatever they're calling it this week. This is proper grown-up real Windows.
Yeah. Can we see?
You can do real things on it, real work, if you want to. Which, granted, you know, it's not something you're probably going to want to edit 20-hour videos on. I want to say Photoshop, but video equivalent. But it can do it.
Yeah.
It can do it. It can be a real computer.
Yeah, a quick 5-minute 1080p video in Premiere or anything like that. It won't be the fastest to render, but you can unplug it from that display and that keyboard, that mouse, and that charger, and it will still render in your bag.
Mm. Now, the only thing, I'm sure you want to move on in a minute, but the only thing that would make this even more appealing to me, and I wouldn't put it past Xiaomi to do it, but going back to what, for me,
the Mi keyboard?
Best... Pardon?
Is it going to be like a Mi keyboard with a trackpad on the side?
Almost. Very, very, almost. Give me a GPU keyboard. Let's add a bit of clout to it. Now it's
that won't work. I can already tell you why that won't work.
Go on.
USB-C, even with USB 3.1 Gen 2, simply does not have the bandwidth to supply a GPU. Even like a really underclocked mobile GPU, it doesn't have the bandwidth. If it was Thunderbolt 3 using the USB-C port, that might, like, very much might, and you probably only get like a GeForce 940M, like at most, out of it, like, which is pretty much what's in the Surface Book or equivalent of. It just, like, the bandwidth the GPU needs is insane.
Yeah, no, you're right. But
ideally, it would be great. Yeah, you'd have this tablet, really nice, portable. You get home, you dock it in there, and boom, you get a much higher GPU that enables you to do proper work super fast. You click it out, and then you get on your way. I get where you're coming from. All right, so do you think we should move on to our next subject?
Go for it.
So, Fossil, the watch people, have they a long time ago said they were coming out with an Android Wear watch, and then they went silent, like scarily silent, like they'd almost like were going back on their word, but they didn't. So, just a few weeks after Tag Heuer showed their Android Wear watch, the Fossil Q founder is Fossil's first Android Wear watch. And the notes I have here just say it looks like a mix of the original LG Watch Urbane and the original Moto 360. Take that how you will. So that essentially means the body is kind of like a more angular Watch Urbane, but with the Moto 360 screen with a flat tire. Kind of pissed about this. Like, I'm not a big fan of what Fossil watch designs anyway. I don't find a lot of their watches to be attractive. But this takes the worst bits of the Urbane for me, which was it's a very, very chunky watch, and then the worst bits of the Moto 360, which was the IPS display and the flat tire. We know for the fact you can have ambient light sensors behind AMOLED displays, which is what Apple did on the Apple Watch. The ambient light sensor is actually mounted beneath the display, and that works perfectly well. But then again, the Apple Watch does have bezels. But the Q Founder seems to have pretty sizable bezels like the Urbane does, except it also has a flat tire.
Do you want to go on this one, Mark? Because I've already got my comments lined up.
Okay, sure. Okay. Well, what do I think about? Well, Fossil just to kind of give people a reminder, Fossil have been doing smartwatches since the days of the Sony Ericsson MBW 150. So long time. And I kind of look at this watch and, yeah, it's a watch. That's kind of it. There's nothing particularly interesting about it. We've gotten over the whole initial, ooh, an Android watch, how novel. This just, yeah, it looks like a big chunky watch. It has the flat tire thing, and apart from the fact that it's made by Fossil, which is a recognized watch company, why would you buy this over any others?
And it's not
I
that
don't
cheap.
know. No, there's nothing in particular that says this is different, this is special, this is unique. It's not.
It looks like other Fossil watches. So if you quite like the look of Fossil watches, this is going to be great for you.
I mean, it looks like a watch. You know, with the little bit of flat tire. And if you put a kind of typical watch-facing fascia on it, it just looks like a big chunky watch.
Which is what a lot of people like. I mean, if I didn't have like tiny girly wrists, I'd probably have something like a Moto 360 or a Huawei watch that are actually quite large faces. But I wear a Pebble Time steel. It's nice, it's compact, but it looks quite big on my wrists. I'm going to get a bit worked up on this, Craig.
There's nothing particularly exceptional or exciting about this. It's an Android Wear watch. It kind of looks like a watch. Looks quite nice. It's all right.
I mean, like the Tag Heuer watch is actually powered by an Intel chip. It's got a gig of RAM or 768 mega RAM. So it doesn't have. It has a few differentiating factors. I don't know if all the classic watch makers are going to start using Intel chips. I'd really hope not, because all these Intel chips, they seem to be clocking them quite high, and none of them have had a battery life estimate of over a day. Whereas all the newer Android Wear watches seem to be 2-ish days. So I want to say that I'll hold judgment until I get to play with one, but the likelihood of me ever actually buying or playing with one of these is incredibly low, so I'm going to shut up before I say something I'll regret. Craig, what do you think?
Frankly, I don't see the point.
In a watch company making a smartwatch, or?
Yes. So, long and short, okay, I've got a G-Watch R, but nothing, literally nothing has changed in Android Wear since the original LG G watch and what Samsung Gear Live was it originally.
And anything that has changed has come back to those watches.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There hasn't been, as far as I'm concerned, the software hasn't moved on to the point where we're going, wow, the second and third generation products are so much better. They're not. The only thing that you could possibly say about these and the Tag watches, and probably a Diesel watch that will come, and a Rolex one, and
shit! I would buy the hell out of a Diesel Android Wear watch. Diesel, or oh my god, if Casio remade the Edifice as an Android Wear watch.
Well, okay, let me
buy one of those.
So, if you want a nice looking watch and you want to be able to get your smart notifications on it, buy one of these. Mm-hmm. Shout at Fossil first for putting a flat tire on it, because I know you speak to anybody in Pocket Now, you speak to anybody else on Twitter that's got a Moto 360 original, and they will say, I don't know what the big deal is. I'm used to it now. Yes, but you shouldn't have to get used to it.
Craig, I will say you do kind of forget it's there. It's again, like everyone said the same thing about the Pebble Times. If you look at photos, the bezel around the face is huge, and it really is huge. When I stop and look at it, I'm like, wow, they could have easily put like an extra ½ inch on the screen here. But it kind of just fades away. And again, it shouldn't be there. You shouldn't have to just like make your brain overlook it. especially when something you're paying a lot of money for, like some of these higher end smartwatches.
Yeah, I mean, this is what, about $275 ish, $300, something like that.
Yeah, so like on the higher end of $200, yeah.
Yeah, so it's cheap in terms of having a branded smartphone. A fashion brand smartphone. I'll skip over the flat tire bit. The whole point of that for me is don't tell me you're giving me a round Android Wear smartwatch when actually you're not. I don't even know the name of that shape, but it ain't round because you've got a flat tire on the bottom. So I don't like that anyway. So the other thing is I don't understand why we as consumers are accepting of the fact that this is a second or third generation of products that we're delivering now with software that still hasn't delivered any benefit over first gen. All you would buy one of these watches for is if you wanted it to look nicer than some of the other watches. Now, okay, I know it's not beautiful, but it's also not the worst looking thing in the world. And I look at like the Tag watch and I go, well, why would you spend that amount of money for it? I just don't understand. Go and buy this. It's cheaper. It does exactly the same.
But the difference is, you buy it for the tech. People buy tags for the jewellery factor, not for the tech.
Well, don't buy a smartwatch then, because there's no point. If you want a fashion accessory over tech, buy a fashion accessory, because the technology is not there to give.
But you know, there's got to be a smartwatch for virtue buyers, surely.
Oh my god, I can almost guarantee you in 2 years Virtue's going to make a smartwatch. It's going to come with
the Pebble time. The Pebble Gem.
It's going to come with like a living crystal display, so it heals scratches itself like proper watches do. Yeah. It's going to... Oh my god, each button is going to have a ruby encrusted in it. It's going to be the shit. It's also going to be about 25 grand. Because it's going to be... It's the epitome of... God, what's it called? Capitalism. You don't need it. You just really want it. And you will pay a lot of money because you want it. So, like I said, all these smartwatches, the only one I could really say, like, if you want a pretty watch, buy this smartwatch, is the Tag. Because after 2 years, with its end of life, you pay them another $1.5 grand, and you get a custom-made Carrera watch, which is a $3 grand Carrera, which is still cheaper than all the other fucking Carreras.
And so, yeah, well, you've kind of made my point, is that the only reason to buy one is so you get one that isn't a smartwatch at the end of it.
You're buying the name, and if we're honest, like if these smart, like, oh my god, if like Rolex make a smartwatch, they're gonna do the stupid thing and they're gonna put like an analog watch underneath with a transparent OLED display on top, like, cause like why not? It's Rolex. You're paying for the name.
Yeah,
Let me just, I'll round out my comments then. It looks okay. It looks nice. If people want to buy it, you know, because it does look nice. It's a nice watch. Give me a smartwatch with a sodding projector on it. Make that look nice. I want a little Pico projector sticking out of here that I can do FaceTime calls with. Give me something different. Don't just give me a watch and go, hey, but honestly, you can get notifications from it now. Granted, it'll only last you a day's battery, whereas before you could go almost a year without worrying. But now you get to see a Twitter alert. No, just... I know it's all iterative, but it's so slow. It's the slowest moving technology in the mobile technology industry, I think, and
Definitely.
It's starting to piss me off.
I think that's all down to battery, though.
Yeah, one small comment before I move us on, because again we spend so much time on this topic. I'm going to try to see if I can get a hold of a Vector Luna. I don't know if either of you know what that smartwatch is.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys Google it in your own time. Vector Luna. Think of like Pebble, or Pebble Time Round, sorry. Except it doesn't look like crap, and it lasts 30 days on a charge. So, moving on, again, before we just sit on one topic for way too long, since last week, the Lumia 950 reviews have come in. And this is quite interesting in the fact they all said pretty much the same thing. It's definitely high-end, but in no way is it a flagship. Which is kind of what we expected, because that's what the XL is for. It's got a bigger screen, it's got a faster processor, like all kit bang caboodle. Like we kind of knew this going in, but I don't think any of us kind of expected it to, like all the earlier reviewers to hit it this hard on the head. Like it kind of feels cheap in the hand. Every now and then it's kind of sluggish because Windows 10 Mobile is still pretty much in beta. Like, all these things, I was kind of like, ugh. And then we saw the awesome thing, which is they all demoed Continuum. So all the press kits got a display dock, wireless keyboard and mouse, and all this stuff. And it is just as cool as I thought it was going to be. Pretty much useless for pretty much everything I want it for. Still kind of want it, though. Like, what do you guys think?
I think it's a really kind of valiant effort on Microsoft's part. They're trying. They're clearly trying. But, yeah, but nobody's going to buy this. Nobody's going to use the phone as their main computer if you have to carry around a dock and a monitor or rely. Just, no. It's not going to happen unless you happen to work in Redmond and they've set up 100 stations so that you can use your watch.
If you work in Redmond, you pretty much have a 950 XL anyway. You wouldn't be like fist pumping over this. Though, from what I've heard, the leather backs do a hell of a lot for the feel of this phone.
Yeah, I'm sure it's lovely. I'm sure it's a really nice device, and I'm sure if I had one, I would fawn over it and think it's marvelous. And I actually really do like Windows Phone. It's a really nice looking and feeling operating system. It's a little bit simplistic, but it's really nice to use. Mm-hmm. The problem with it is, give me a reason why I need to buy that and not an Android phone.
And it's hard. I can't think of one.
Yeah, Microsoft,
Microsoft can't either.
Enough. No.
Craig?
I'll keep it short. 3 things. Number 1, they've killed it with the price. I've said that before and I'll say it again.
No, they have both dropped in price in the UK already.
Yeah, not enough.
No, nowhere near enough.
So 400 and I'll think about it. But until it gets to there, they've lost me.
For the 950 or for the XL?
Yeah.
Which one? Oh, okay.
Because they both pretty much do the same thing. But I think in terms of the review side of things, I think the reason why it's been harshly reviewed by some quarters is they've had a lot of time to find a successor to the 1020, which is essentially what this is supposed to be as far as I'm concerned, or at least the 920. And they've made a 920 with with excessively bumped specs. The industrial design's the same, and I think they'll lose people for that. The second point is that App Store. They've still not sorted the main issue. Going live with a new platform, which is essentially what they're trying to do with the Windows 10 mobile side of things, and saying, but now we've got Instagram and now we've got Facebook. That's the half of it. The whole point of this is that you pick it up, you go, right, I'm going to go and be able to use all the services I want to be able to use. You can do that if you buy a Samsung Galaxy, you buy an HTC One, you buy an LG G4, you buy an iPhone, whatever.
Yeah.
You buy any tablet, you can do that. This is the only platform now that you can't, thanks to BlackBerry going Android. It's the only one you can't. So they're going to struggle with that. And the third one, playing devil's advocate, is I can tell you exactly who is going to use this. If the price comes down, you will see sales guys all over the place using this with docks and some sort of...
Docks at their desk, and when a customer comes in, just picking it up, and they can use it. And again, the dock is like the perfect marketing tool. Because when someone's in the shop and is like, oh, I don't know what to buy, I say, this is what I use. Come on over here, sit at my desk. This is what I do when I come into work. I click my phone down here. All my spreadsheets or whatever are here. Like boom, like it's easily demoable, and that's it. You can demonstrate to people this cool shit. It might not be useful, but it's cool shit, and people buy cool shit. In some ways, I kind of want to go back to what you're saying about it being a successor to the 1020 and the 920. Honestly, I think it's more of a successor to the 930. In more of the industrial design, it's kind of mixed between both, except it's a regression from the 1020, the 930, in the fact that it's all fucking plastic.
Yeah.
Well, no,
don't forget,
I'm fine with plastic.
I'm fine with plastic as long as it doesn't creak. And from what I've heard, this thing creaks.
Well, if it creaks, that's I'm not going to say it's the fault of it being plastic, But the benefit of it being plastic is you can peel the back off it, and as far as I'm aware, you can easily access the battery, can't you?
Yeah, I mean you can do that with a metal framed phone as well. The 930, or the 830 was metal framed with a removable polycarbonate back. That didn't creak, and you could replace the
Yeah, no,
battery.
if it creaks, then that's a problem, and I would, given the history of the manufacturing arm of Nokia, which is assumingly is still the same factories that are pumping these things out.
Nope, they're all gone. Literally,
Is it all now third-party construction?
Pretty much everything that Microsoft bought from Nokia has been let go.
Well, if the creaking isn't happens to be an issue because it's the first few thousand that have been run off, and so they're maybe not quite perfected yet,
Yeah.
then forgivable. But if it's an ongoing issue, then it's just a nail in the coffin.
And again, from what I hear, the Mozo leather backs actually do a lot to improve the in-hand feel. So again, they're still not metal, they're like still textured plastic, but you snap one of those on, there's no give whatsoever. The buttons feel perfect. The leather back is like slightly spongy because it's real leather. That's what we want, but that shouldn't have to be an external accessory that you have to buy afterwards. You should not buy an expensive phone and then go, oh, like it feels crap in my hand. That shouldn't be your thought when you buy an expensive phone. That's not what you feel when you pick up an iPhone. That's not what you feel when you pick up an S6. It might be if you pick up a G4, but like, it's these little things. Yeah, it's kind of. HTC pissed me off with the A9 because of this. It's like, yeah, it kind of looks like an iPhone, but they still are design. But they didn't put the attention for the little things. The ambient light sensor, the earpiece, and the camera, they're all different heights. They're not right. If you look at the bottom of the phone, the micro USB port isn't centered. It's an odd number of speaker grills. The headphone jack is slightly lower. It's all slightly off. Like, only Apple and maybe Xiaomi seem to be able to get the small details because they want to.
Just playing devil's advocate again. What I'm hoping, and this maybe there's a little bit of silver lining here. What I'm hoping, just to give everybody a bit of a heads up, we're getting one of these next week for a couple of week review. So I'm interested to see whether it will replace my Chromebook usage.
Are you getting the dock as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens with that. But silver lining, perhaps if we look back a couple of years and we see Surface being released by Microsoft and everybody saying, on paper, this sounds brilliant. In hand, this is awful. And then we fast forward to today and we're looking at the Surface Book 4, even back to the Surface Book 3. Unfortunately, I've got the Surface Book 2, which was okay. But the Surface Book 3 and Surface Pro 3 and 4 are good products. And you'd go so far as to say, okay, Microsoft have delivered a new category of mobile technology almost, and have succeeded. That is potentially what I think they were trying to do with the 950. It's not a brilliant smartphone, it's not a brilliant computer, it's somewhere in the middle. Just like they were trying to do with, and it's not an ultrabook, it's not a tablet, it's somewhere in the middle, guys. And I think this is perhaps what they're trying to do here. The only thing they can perhaps do to speed awareness of that up is release a second gen very quickly.
Yeah, I
just
think
like
the
they did
problem
with Surface, and
I
say,
think the
look.
problem with this is, I think the problem with this, sorry for interrupting you, Craig, is it came on probably the worst year for mobile processors in history. Maybe barring like the original Tegra 2, but like the 810 this year, pretty much everything Qualcomm has tried this year has had one fault or another. Some having a lot more than others. So the 950 uses an 808, but I don't want to say it struggles in this, but it doesn't seem to be quite as fluid as some Android phones using that same processor. With the 950 XL, they've actually used like a vapor chamber heat pipe. They call it liquid cooling. I'd say that's a bit of a stretch, but there is technically liquid in there for the cooling mechanism, whatever. So the fact that an OEM felt it is kind of required to put that effort into cooling a processor in a phone. Like,
Yeah.
I'd understand if someone was trying to put a Tegra X1 in a phone, because that thing like is a hot. There's a reason it's only in tablets and set-top boxes. Like, it needs the thermal headroom. You couldn't put that in a phone.
No, I think my point is on this is that if this is the first gen of what Microsoft want to deliver as a new platform or a disruptive technology within the mobile space, I'd support it because I want to see phones being used as computers. I want the convergence of one device. I want to see that, and web apps, the successor to maybe HTML5 delivering non-native apps. I want to see that. However, the only thing that would stop me supporting this is what they've done, which is give it a ludicrous price.
Yeah.
This is
Also,
new, untried and tested technology in terms of the continuum stuff, so the convergence of multiple platforms, and bringing a desktop to a smartphone and vice versa. The whole point is that you test the water and you get as many people as possible, OnePlus, to access this device, and you saturate the market. That's the only way you're going to get buy-in. And all they've done is they've gone, well, everybody who was on the fence for this, they look at the price tag and they go, nah.
they're off the fence. It's actually quite interesting seeing as today one of my colleagues got her new laptop, and pretty much all tutors at the college have MacBooks. Like, for whatever reason, the newer ones obviously have like the 13 and 15-inch Pros, but she opted for a Surface Pro 3. And this was amazing to me because, without giving too many details away, she's not a very techie person. But she'd seen the Surface in the advert, and she uses Windows in her life, and she was like, I want that. And she got it. And in class today, it was, she came in, she sat down, she tried to use it in a lap, and she was like, oh, this is a bit shit. And then she was like, wait a sec. She snapped the keyboard off, turned the keyboard around, and then used that as a base for the kickstand. And then she just got the pen out and started doing stuff. I was like, this is like a bloody Microsoft advert. It was like,
Should have videoed it.
I should have. It would be great. She'd be a bloody YouTube star by now. So I think we should probably move on to our last news topic of the day. So last week we spoke about Nvidia relaunching the Shield tablet as the Shield Tablet K1, and I predicted that we'd see a Shield Tablet X1 at some point in the future. And lo and behold, this week, benchmarks of the Nvidia Shield Tablet X1 have come out. Same 8-inch 1920 by 1200 screen, running Android Marshmallow, 3 gigs of RAM. And I seem to have lost the actual benchmark scores right now, but this thing absolutely shreds everything, especially on graphics. It has a full, Maxwell SMM, so 256 core GPU based off of their desktop Maxwell architecture. So it's although it's designed for mobile first, it's pretty damn hungry. But this shit is gonna be the bomb. Like Nvidia make good chips. I will not, as much as I am more of an Android person, I will not, I'm not too up on one team to admit when other people have better products. The Tegra X1's amazing. Anyone who's tried the Shield Android TV, I think that's what its actual name is. It's got a stupid name. The Shield console thing. If you ever tried to play a game on that thing, like a proper game, not an Android, like not Crossy Road, like because this thing can play actual like Nvidia, like it can play Doom, and like actual like games Nvidia has ported from desktop to the Tegra X1. This thing plays proper games and it plays them well. It plays at 1080p 60. Fucking like the Xbox One and 360, the Xbox One and PS4 sometimes struggle with 1080p 60.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. There is a big thing. I think it was Unity, Assassin's Creed Unity ran at like 760p and like 920p or something stupid like that, and even then it was struggling to hit 60 FPS. Like, Nvidia make cool shit. The reason it's in a tablet and a set-top box is because it's a hot chip. I think it's between like 10 and 15 watts, which is like when it bursts up. I mean, like it's not like 15 watts all the time. That'd be kind of messed up. But damn, I'm trying to find these benchmarks and I can't find them. But if I put them in the show notes afterwards, I'll send them to you, Craig.
Yeah,
This thing just blew through everything. Like the closest competitor I think was like the A9X, and even then that was like pretty far behind. And like anyone who's seen benchmarks of the A9X knows how fast that is. So.
With the Nvidia stuff, I've always been a little bit nonplussed about it, simply because, similar to what you were saying, I love the idea and I love the chips, and they do perform well. And there's one sitting in my MiPad 1 over there, slightly underpowered, but it is there and it does the job. It just never seems to kick on like Tegra 2s. It just never seems to kind of kick on and deliver the sort of support in the mobile space that we expect. And I'd be interested to see exactly what the Shield tablet and how that actually works, and where this current generation of Nvidia chips is going, how it stacks up to the other mobile technologies out there. Obviously, this seems to be blowing it away.
Mhm. Oh no, without a doubt. Yeah, I can't find these results anywhere. But it seems to be just. I don't know how to. I think GFX Bench have pulled down the results.
I think they've pulled them, yeah.
Yeah. But every time we've seen an Nvidia chip do well, it's always been hamstrung by something else. So last year we had the Nexus 9 with the Tegra K1. There was actually two versions of the Tegra K1. Actually, strangely, they're actually pin identical, so you could actually just pick one up and drop it in the same. They had exactly the same pin out. The one in the original MiPad was using Cortex A15s. The one in the Nexus 9 was using NVIDIA-made Denver cores, which I think they also called them learning cores, which is kind of they learned to cache certain things so that it became super fast at some things. Then they didn't have to cache them anymore.
Tiered caching, wasn't it?
Essentially, then it kind of like wrote it into the code, so it didn't have to cache it anymore. It just knew like how to run that faster. It was really cool stuff, except that was like hamstrung by Android 5.0 being steaming hard as shit. The Tegra 3 in the original Nexus 7, great, until Asus put shitty NAND flash in it. The Tegra 2 didn't have floating point neon support, so pretty much it was almost outdated as soon as it launched. Like everything uses like neon nowadays. You can't. And I think Tegra 4, no one trusted it after Tegra 3 after being actually pretty great. So the only things that really used it were Nvidia products, like the Shield was now called the Shield Portable.
Yeah. Is this something that you're interested in, Mark? I'm just thinking that most of these tabs, like the K1, the X1, the original Shield, that sort of stuff, are based almost entirely around gamers. Is this something that floats your boat?
No. In a word, no. Yeah, awesome, super powerful chip. I'm sure it's super awesome for gaming, but I kind of feel the people that are sitting gaming on their tablet or on their phone, they're playing Candy Crush or Monument Valley. They're not playing Halo.
Oh my god! I wonder. Actually,
I just don't feel that people really need all that massive amounts of power. I mean, I think the console that Nvidia does, I think that's getting more interesting because one, it can eat all the power it likes because it's plugged into the mains.
It also has a small fan.
The tablet.
It's a very small fan running at very low speeds, so it's actually like almost never on. But it's kind of like because it can draw as much power as pretty much as it wants because it's not battery limited. They can clock it a bit higher.
And I think in that case, if Nvidia are trying to make Android a compelling games platform with a real console, great, fair enough, fine. Throw this awesome chip and its awesome power. But right now, in a device that has a battery, I think until batteries become like something like Star Trek, then no. No.
I think it's also the input mechanism, isn't it, Mark? I mean, you look at the way everybody plays games. There's two types of gamers.
It's
Okay, three types of gamers.
It's Angry Birds. It's
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Yeah, if you want to play on a tablet, you're limited to. Well, you're not limited to. Yes, you can tether an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One device to it, and you can play it like that. I would argue that demographic is extremely small at the moment, and
the people that are going to do that are going to buy a fucking Shield because it comes with a controller, and an actually good controller with very low latency because it's designed for gamers.
With technology to deliver the games from the cloud and all that good stuff.
I mean, we spoke about this last week. Sorry, Craig. We spoke about this a bit last week with the Shield Tab K1. It's the people that are going to buy this have pretty much already bought this. How does Nvidia get past that? Because again, if you pick up a Shield Portable, that thing is still stupid fast. Even though it's like 2 years old, it's got a 5-inch 720p screen. The Tegra 4 is still fast. Unless they intentionally stop releasing games for it, but then people are going to be pissed because, hey, this is still fast and usable.
Yeah, I do. When I look at Nvidia now, across their product range, really, I see niche. I see gamers. And I know that's probably how they've marketed it, but they have the opportunity to deliver the sort of technologies that they're delivering now into a wider market, and they're not well enough, I don't think.
I could tell you right now, if I had 150 quid to spare, I would buy a Shield TV, and I would not even touch the gaming controller.
Or what would you use it for?
The best damn Android TV box there is. I'd watch 4K Netflix, 4K YouTube. It'd be fast, not a hint of stutter. Like voice input, like that fucking remote which has a touchpad for doing the volume. Go for it. Headphones and the remote. Great. Like, it does everything. It doesn't I don't know why they put so much emphasis on gaming. Like, until last week, they didn't even sell the thing with a bloody remote. It came with a controller. And you had to spend 40 quid to get a fucking remote.
Yeah.
And now they're finally saying, actually, maybe we should probably include that.
It's Xbox One catch-up time as far as I'm concerned. Everybody shat on the Xbox One when they said, look, always on, and it's a media entertainment system, it's not a game system, and look where we're going.
I mean, everyone's still shitting on it because the PS4 is outselling it like 2 or 3 to 1, but whatever.
But yeah, that's a pure games platform. But
yeah, I mean, again, if you go back for the last generation, the 360 was the pure gaming one, and the PS3 was like, no, Blu-rays. Yeah, and now they swapped the directions, and they swapped the bloody revenue stream. Like, people don't buy consoles for all this media shit. It's nice to have. It's very nice to have Netflix on your PS3 or your PS4. It's nice to have Spotify, but you're not buying the thing for it.
Most of the people I knew that bought PS3s bought them for the media stuff, not for the gaming.
Really?
I bought mine for that.
Big part of if you wanted for a long time to buy a Blu-ray player, without question, the best Blu-ray player money could buy you was the PS3.
I think at the point that to say this, I think because the PS3 is like a decade old or coming up to at this point. About that?
Yep.
How expensive are Blu-ray players when they came out?
Oh, insane.
And you were getting a games console with it.
Yeah.
A capable games console, and this Blu-ray player would always be updated with the newest formats.
That was the selling point.
Yeah, because
it was updatable.
Yeah, and
it could do all these other things too, like Netflix, you name it, it could do it. Which is why it was far and away the best thing you could get.
The first Blu-ray player I remember seeing, I worked in a repair shop at the time. I took it apart just for shits and giggles. They were essentially PCs. Like, they needed that much, because I hadn't figured out how to get ASICs, they were ASICs at that point. They couldn't figure out how to get the ASICs to essentially decode all that much data in one go.
Yeah.
So they essentially just put PCs in this thing, so they were loud, and they were still slow. So the fact that Sony put a Blu-ray player in its games console, which was massively overpowered for a gaming console, and essentially took the entire decade to get to get all the juice out of it, it was great. Like the Blu-ray guys announced like 3D Blu-rays, boom. Sony updated the PS3, got it. Like audio return channel, boom, got it. Like,
I think in summary, if I ever see anybody with an Nvidia Shield tablet, I'll be incredibly surprised.
hmm
Not that I don't think people will buy it, but I don't think I'll ever see one in the wild.
especially not in the UK, I don't think.
No, it would be like a Lumia 950.
Yep. All right, so I think we're gonna maybe speak about one or two discussion topics here, only because I've kind of got to go soon. Let's kind of skip the first one because that's kind of boring. We'll jump to number 3 and then we'll go back to number 2. So, Mark, do you want to speak about this, seeing as you kind of added it? Pardon me.
Yeah, well, there's a recent story just came out from O2 saying, essentially, they're considering ad blocking. And this follows kind of hot on the heels of a couple of weeks ago. EE said they were also thinking about bringing in ad blocking to mobile customers. And yeah, so essentially, this would, if it happens, this would be like ad blocking. We can, not that we all add this to our phones the second we root them. Ad blocking done at the ISP level. So web ads, in-game ads, you know, when you get that little free app because it's supported by advertising, that's going to get blocked at the network level. Which means, obviously, if your revenue streams are ad-based, and
fucked.
two of the potentially about to be 3 networks in the UK are going to be doing this, pretty much the third one's going to have to. That is potentially market destroying for a lot of companies. And, you know, why is this taking place? Arguably because the way the ad market exists right now, ads are really intrusive and they really piss customers off.
Yeah. Why are they doing this? Because ads suck.
Yeah.
But I don't think sorry, Greg. I don't think the solution, like, this isn't speaking to you, Mark. This is actually like speaking to ISPs and everything in general. The solution isn't to block ads. It's to force them to make better ads. And again, I don't want to get all scare. I don't want to get scaremongery here. The only way this will be an issue is if it's turned on by default. If it's
Which I think it would. I think that's what the networks would push.
I think that's what they're pushing.
I really hope not. If it's opt-in, that's fine. It's like iOS 9. It's not on by default. People are going to be lazy and leave it off. That is fine. It will still be a sizable impact to people that have ad-based revenue, and it will still hurt them a lot. But it won't be nearly as like destroying as if it's on by default. And suddenly, all of the UK or 3/4 of the UK now has hundreds of thousands or millions of devices that, boom, no more ads for you.
Yeah, well, certainly I think if the networks are going to do it, and they're not saying they're going to do it, they're just umming and eyeing, considering, which you could interpret as their not too subtle way of telling ad makers your ads eat up too much bandwidth and they piss customers off. So you maybe want to think about this. And maybe that is what they're doing. Maybe there is back channel communications from the network saying, look, your shitty ads are pissing off our customers and they're eating up our customers' bandwidth because we only want to sell them 500 megabytes for 50 quid. And you're using half of it, and they're not pleased about this. And so instead of the customers getting angry with us, we're going to put all the blame on you. So ad makers, do something about it. Maybe that's the plan.
Well, just to jump in, I think that the source of this is Mobile Today website, and the first quote they've got on there is from an O2 spokesman. And the quote is, while we believe in a predominantly ad-funded internet, we see ad blocking as a call to the ad industry to raise the bar in terms of the quality of the advertising that it delivers. So everything we've just said 100% fits into that. My my comment here is, it sounds to me like we're having the wrong debate. We shouldn't be having the debate about, because this is exactly what you said, Mark. This is obviously because they're data heavy, they're intrusive, and they're impacting on the revenue stream downstream. And they're kind of saying, well, fine, we're going to cut the draw a line in the sand, and we're going to force the issue. You need to do something about it. Fine. Shouldn't we be having a conversation around different ways of monetizing internet access and data access through mobile devices rather than adverts? Because are we not past that nowadays? Can we not look at different revenue streams? The only times I've ever seen anybody click on an ad is accidentally. So it's I don't understand why this is even a thing anymore. And you obviously agree.
Well, in regards to the only time you've ever seen anyone click an ad, then they're getting served the wrong ads. You know, I know there are certain websites, and to be fair, I do ad block pretty much everything, but there are select sites that I turn off because I feel I like this site, I want them to continue to exist, and the only way that'll happen is if they get ad revenue. And a lot of the times, the adverts that I'll get served are stuff that I'm kind of interested in.
I had the exact same problem, not same problem, the exact same thoughts as you, Mark. I kind of block by default, and if it's a site that I'm actually kind of interested in, I'll unblock them. And if they serve me obnoxious ads, I block them almost instantly straight away. But I'm finding now, especially on YouTube at the moment, I've unblocked YouTube. I'm seeing so many ads for like tailored suits or gadgets on like firebox.com or just stuff like that. There's stuff I'm actually quite interested in. Yes, I do actually like look at tailored suits and whatever. So like ads are getting better if you kind of give them the chance to get better, but the problem is they're just so shitty most of the time.
But it's not even that for me. I don't know, maybe I'm a different sort of consumer. So if I want to buy a smartphone, let's say a smartphone, let's say I go to Amazon and I have a look and I see the Galaxy S6 and I go, okay, I might want to buy that. But so I stick it on my wish list, I don't worry about it, I go away. I'm going to go back to Amazon at some point to purchase it. I may then, as I click on that S6, get within the web page, forget ads, within the web page get shown other things that that other customers that have purchased this have purchased. It could be peripherals, it could be on-the-go cables, it could be cases, it could be whatever it may be. I don't understand why I need to be served up ads outside of my purchasing experience to prompt me to go and purchase a thing that I'm already considering anyway. I understand if it's something completely different. I just still don't understand the purpose of the. I don't understand the purpose of the ads in the way in which I consume internet access.
Well, I think in the case of you,
Mark's point about the fact that you click on links because you see links from a site that you want to keep going, and you click on links for the ad revenue. I get that, but all we're doing is proliferating in my opinion, an outdated mode of revenue.
Yeah, but I only click for things that I actually look and go, ooh, interesting. And granted, most of these sites tend to be kind of fairly techie orientated. So when they show me adverts for, one of the companies that I've dealt with a great deal over the last handful of weeks is GearBest, and because I've been on their site quite a bit, I get fed a lot of their adverts. And they have tons of weird crap. Mm-hmm. Tons of these weird shit things that come out of China that you look at and go, ooh, cool. And
they all cost me 30 pence.
Exactly, and some of them are absurdly cheap.
But my point is, Mark, my point is, when you get home after a hard day's work and you crack open a beer and you turn on your favourite porn site and you're about to get down to business, and then all of a sudden the GearBest ads come up, are you interested?
I can't imagine in that context. But usually ads that you're being fed, or certainly the ads that I see, happen to have a relevance to the website.
I was about to say. Like,
Oh, really? Because I get the opposite.
oh, really?
I can go on.
Do you block
I went on the
privacy
website
and
from my wife.
cookies? And do you block all the privacy and cookies? Don't track me. Don't monitor me. You do, don't you?
Maybe. I think the point I'm making here is I think the only reason they're having this conversation is for their own benefit. They're not trying to improve the service for the greater good. They're trying to reduce data. And I think it's the wrong conversation necessarily to be having. I don't understand. I understand why ads is a monetary platform that basically runs a lot of internet sites currently. I just don't understand why we haven't started moving away from that. Let's get to micropayments for websites.
Yeah.
People don't like it. I think it was just recently the Sun announced that they were scrapping their paywall.
Yep.
Because they couldn't get people to pay.
Yeah, but how much was it?
I have no idea.
All right, let's move on.
Sun,
Let's start
it could have been 10 pence and I wouldn't have cared.
Before we start getting too worked up about this.
Ads bad.
Pretty much. Current ads are bad, not all ads.
Yeah.
Very
John Lewis excluded.
Yeah. Very quick topic. I only really want like a sentence or two from each of us about this because I really have to go because I'm starving. So, cheap Chinese stuff is getting super good, super fast. As we were talking about earlier, the Redmi Note 3 and stuff like that. A Chinese company, Umi, announced a device called the Roam. It's under $100 and it has 3 gigs of RAM, like a 720p AMOLED display, 3 gigs of RAM, and like a quad-core MediaTek processor. That doesn't like what like, and again, like all these phones coming out like last year or so have not been horrendous to use. So when they're getting like this good and they're getting this cheap, and it almost gets to throwaway territory. Like disposable smartphones is almost like the dream at this point. Should big OEMs kind of be worried about this? Like, should they be worried about the Elaphones, the Umis, the Doogies? Like, should LG, Samsung, and everyone who already think they're making peanuts on a phone be worried about these companies?
They should be terrified.
And because...
Because, well, I don't know about the two of you, but I quite like history. And if you look at history, particularly, if you ever look at the history of companies like Sony, we today view Sony as a premium Western upmarket expensive they make expensive shiny things. This was not always the case. When Sony started out, they were viewed as the cheap, shitty crap from the Far East. That, as was pretty much everything from Japan. Their cars, their radios, because this is before people really had TVs. The Far East stuff from Japan was all viewed as cheap crap. Japan kept pumping this stuff out, and it got good, and it got cheaper, and we eventually accepted this is good value stuff. And eventually Japan moved into the premium. And then we had the likes of LG and Samsung come up from South Korea. And when they started, they were, Lucky Gold Star, they were the cheap, shitty brands that were bottom of the market, but they kept getting better and better. And eventually now you can get your LG or Samsung TV that costs $100,000. They are the top of the market premium stuff.
I haven't heard Lucky Gold Star in years, by the way.
But yeah, but when you hear it as Lucky Gold Star, it brings back the
memories.
The crappy little 14-inch TVs and Dixons. That's what they made.
Yeah, so you're basically saying history has denoted that everyone that's started out small is now huge.
Well, everyone that starts out, you enter the market by being cheaper than your competitors. You have to be good enough. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be good enough and cheap enough. and eventually you will do what South Korea did and what Japan did, and you will slide up that scale until you sit at the top of the market. And I see no reason why Chinese companies won't be the same. And in 20 years' time, we'll look at Xiaomi in the same way today as we look at Sony.
Interesting. Do you think we'll also see the same thing with Indian makers on a slower scale?
Yep, they're like, just further behind the curve, but they're coming.
I think. Sorry, I really want your answer, Craig. We saw the smartphone stats of India, and something like Apple owned 0.9% of the smartphone market, but like 2 of the top 3 were like homegrown Indian brands, and the other one was Samsung. So that was like actually super interesting to me. So Craig, your answer.
I wrote an editorial about this probably about 6 months ago, in which I basically said exactly what Mark said. I'm not going to change my tune completely. I'm simply going to say, in answer to the question, should the big Western players, well, not the Western players, sorry, the big established players be scared shitless? I would say not quite yet. And I think the only reason I say that is the history does teach us a lot, and I 100% agree with Mark, and that's why I basically echoed that on the editorial. The only difference is history was a lot less saturated in terms of the technology that these companies are attempting to bring to market. Unless these companies do something that is disruptive, so if you look at OnePlus, what they did was disruptive. They had a different route to market, they had a cheapest chips price point, and they had performance matching technology that they were delivering. So they kind of had a bit of a leg up, but they're still not spoken about in the same, and okay, it's early days, but they're still not spoken about in the same sort of sentences as Apple and Samsung and LG-ish, HTC maybe.
Yeah, but just think, I mean, it took Sony 30, 40 years before they were kind of considered on a par with, like European or American manufacturers. And I think the Chinese companies there are hot on their heels in a relatively short period of time. They're going to catch them.
I think you're right, and I think the only reason why I caveat it slightly is there's a customer care and a warranty element which people
they haven't quite matched yet.
Well, people look for at the moment. So let's not forget, number one, so there's customer care that they've got to get better at. They've got to throw more marketing dollars at it, which, okay, if you've got the right investors, you can do. And the third one is we mustn't forget that a lot of these companies, like the Xiaomis, like the Meizus, like the Umis, like the Eliphones, they're big in their respective markets already. So it's not like they're shrinking violets. They're doing all right. It's just not necessarily.
Yeah, no, I mean, in terms of the West, I think that at the moment China's problem is they can't do software.
The problem with all these manufacturers is they're fine in China and they think, oh, we've done.
It doesn't work in the West.
Yeah, it doesn't at all. And I think companies like Huawei and especially with their sub-brand Honor are finding that
they've realised you can't sell the same product to a Chinese person the same way that you would sell it to somebody in Western Europe.
I mean, look at the difference between EMUI 2 and 3. It's still not my cup of tea whatsoever, but it's a radical redesign of what it was before. So, before I say I want to go, and if you aren't watching the video, Craig is holding up the LTV 1S, which
just
I believe he's
as a kind of final comment, this is currently £140, and in terms of the build quality, fingerprint scanner, decent camera, great screen, speedy, £140 will get you that, and you can't buy that sort of quality in the West at the moment for that price. So yes, they should be scared, but there's a little bit to go.
Right, so that has been Talking Tech episode 5. I would love to thank Craig and Mark for being with us this evening. I say being with us. One of them owns the site, and the other one writes for it. So whatever, they're kind of going to be here anyway. Thank you all of you for listening live. And I'm undoubtedly going to get comments saying that the camera was locked on me for the first half hour because it accidentally was, but whatever. The audio listeners won't get that. That's fine. So goodbye. you can find all of our stuff at www.mobiletechtalk.co.uk. You can find us all on Twitter. I am at mobile_dom. Craig is at Craigie Tweets. And Mark, I believe, is Mark2410.
That's correct.
And the site is at MTTV for Mobile Tech Talk feed. Aha. Not the band, that's fine. Instagram is Mobile Tech Talk. Facebook is Mobile Tech Talk UK, and YouTube and Google Plus. Because they won't give us fancy URLs, just search for Mobile Tech Talk. I have been Dom. You have been whoever you've been. I'm very tired and sleep deprived and food deprived at this point. So whatever. Good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.